Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I am Sama Bilbao León, Director General of World Nuclear Association, and it is a pleasure to welcome you to this webinar in which we are going to discuss the many options that all our members have to join and be engaged through our member groups. So before we start, I want to remind you that you have the opportunity to ask questions at any time. So please use the button that is at the bottom of your screen, which is called question and answer. So please do not hesitate to ask questions at any point in time. And then, so we are going to give you a relatively short briefing, focusing particularly on the new working groups and panels that have been recently created. And of course, we will have the opportunity to answer any questions that you all may have at the end of the webinar. But again, please do not hesitate to ask questions as we go, because we will certainly plan to answer them. So let me start by sharing my screen so I can give you a little bit of an overview of what are the opportunities, the new opportunities that all members of the association have in order to connect better and to be engaged and impacted and impactful in the work of the association. So first of all, many of you or some of you are relatively new members to the association. So perhaps you are not familiar or don't know enough about what our working groups are. So these are so there are some very exclusive forums that are used to connect all the members of the association. So obviously you need to be a member of World Nuclear Association to be able to engage in one of the working groups. But of course, we also have often external stakeholders that are invited to participate as observers in some of the working groups. So these working groups are a perfect mechanism for all our members to inform us and influence the work that the association does. And also, they are a very good manner for the members to work together, sharing best practices, conducting analysis, conducting research, and also to put together consolidated positions in all types of matters that are relevant to the nuclear industry, to the global nuclear enterprise. So there is, I think it's important for all of you to know that these working groups are an ongoing mechanism for the global nuclear industry to interface among ourselves, but also with external organizations that have an impact in the overall future of nuclear energy. So, and of course, there is two types of, or two main types of organizations. On the one hand, there are organizations that have a very direct impact in the policy framework for nuclear power itself. And these are organizations such as the International Atomic Energy Agency, of the International Commission on Radiological Protection. So obviously, as you know, the association working groups are actually observers and stakeholders in many of the working groups and technical working groups and committees of these organizations. At the same time, there are other organizations that are focused on global policy for energy, for climate change, for finance, resource management, etc. So, so these are fora that are not specifically focused on nuclear energy. And in many of those fora, the association and the working groups are also the perfect interface. And these are organizations such as the International Energy Agency, the World Bank, the International Financial Reporting Standards Organization, the United Nations Framework Convention for Climate Change, the UN Economic Commission for Europe, the African Union or ASEAN, etc. So they are in all these global organizations, the work of the working groups is actually presented, and representatives of our working groups or the secretariat are actually observers or stakeholders in these organizations. Now, who make the working groups? So the working groups are formed by experts from all our member companies. And remember, every single member company can participate in any and all the working groups. So potentially you won't have the same person participating in different working groups. You probably are going to select the person in your organization that is more experienced, that is more knowledgeable about that particular topic. But as I say, every member organization should be able and is definitely able to participate and contribute to any working group. And every working group is chaired by one of these experts. And obviously this is elected by the working group as a whole. And the idea is to actually rotate and change the leadership of the working groups regularly to have diversity and to be as inclusive as possible. Also, it's important for you to know that every working group has a board member mentor that oversees and supports the work of the different working groups and brings to the board the interest and the needs of the different working groups. And of course, all the administrative and technical support for every working group is provided by the secretariat. Essentially, each working group does have a staff director that supports the work of the working group. And I also want to remind you that we also have advisory groups that are maybe more focused on providing the secretariat with the visibility of the opportunities and the challenges that the global nuclear industry is facing, so that we can actually act on them and take advantage of those opportunities or address those challenges. So we are meeting today because, as you probably know, the association has recently undergone a major review of all our working groups. So this was actually motivated by Philippe Nohe, which was the previous chairman of the board. Philippe really wanted to take a detailed look to review the mission, the terms of reference, and the activities of each and every one of the working groups and advisory panels, because we wanted to make sure that we are still, that those working groups are still relevant, that there are not overlaps, that there are no gaps, and also to take advantage of the fact that the global position of nuclear and the nuclear industry is most definitely changing very quickly at a global level. So we really wanted to take a full stock of the current situation and take advantage of that to reshape or to realign our working groups. So as I said, this was initiated by Philippe Nohe when he was chair, but currently Bohdan Stronach, as the current chair, has also been instrumental and incredibly supportive to make sure that this in-depth review takes place and is implemented as effectively as possible. So we started the discussions in the first quarter of 2022 when the chairperson, the mentor of the board, and the staff directors have conversations for each and every one of the working groups to assess the status and impact of each and every one of the working groups. Then in September of 2022, the meeting of the board of management of the association actually spent half of the meeting looking in a lot of detail into each and every one of the working groups. We evaluated membership, stakeholders, the deliverables, the impact, the needs, the potential overlaps, and we did some analysis and some determinations. And this year, in February 16th, we had an extraordinary meeting of the board in which we discussed the final recommendations proposed by the Secretariat. And these were, and most of them were approved by the board. So which ones are those? So as a consequence of all this work, we have created a number of new working groups. So number one is the ESG working group, the environmental, social, and governance working group. And so this is a working group that essentially is only formalizing work that we have been doing for a while within the context of an ad hoc group. Also, we are creating the workforce and talent development working group. Also, the innovation panel, which many of you know that we've been trying to launch this working group for a while, but we have not really done it. So now we really have put all our ducks in a row. We also have created the Cooperation Forum for Nuclear Technology Associations, the Energy Users Panel, and the Emerging Markets Panel. And we will discuss all these working groups shortly. In addition to that, we merged a few working groups. So we merged the economics and law working groups into a new working group that is called Economics, Law, and Finance. And then the existing working group or task force on long-term operation has been absorbed by the supply chain working group. And then finally, we did a few other changes. For example, we renamed the group of working groups that was focused on plan performance was renamed nuclear deployment, a value chain. We renamed the waste management and decommissioning working group as decommissioning. We also renamed the sustainable use fuel management working group as use fuel management. And then we have tried to make finance as a topic a little bit more prominent. This is why the new working group that merge economics and law also will have a significant component on finance. We also are changing a little bit the scope of the Fuel Cycle Members Forum into a members forum, and we will tell you exactly in a few minutes what that is. And finally, we also changed the advisory panel into a group that's a little bit smaller and a little bit more agile, which is the DG Advisory Council. So with all these changes, this is what the overall structure of the working groups looks like. So you see we have these fuel cycle working groups, none of which has really changed. We have the nuclear deployment and value chain working groups with a little bit of a change in some of those there. We have the cross-cutting working groups, the advisory groups, and then of course the members forum. So this is the new structure. Now, we also want to update or are working on updating a little bit the governance. And let me give you some of the important highlights. So first of all, the working groups are going to remain as standing forums because we think it is important to maintain continuous engagement of the participants of the different working groups, to regularly monitor for the horizon and look for threats and opportunities. And also, we think it's very important for these standing fora to actually continuously encourage the participation of early career experts and junior experts. Also, we wanted to create ad hoc groups under the standing working groups, and this would be created specifically to deliver specific tasks or specific products. And in some cases, we may need to use consultants if there is insufficient resources or expertise within the working groups. Also, we really want to enable and empower the working groups by incentivizing them to create concrete action plans. And we also are going to put in place more specific key performance indicators to promote the performance and the impact of the different working groups. Also, as I mentioned before, we want to incentivize more regular turnover in the different chairpersons for the working groups, but also we want to do this in a way that every working group has a little bit of a succession planning, so they have a vision of who are the upcoming colleagues that are going to chair, to lead the work of the different working groups. Also, within this context, we want to incentivize a greater diversity of the member companies and the gender balance in the persons that are chairing the different working groups. And also very, very important, we really want to emphasize the engagement of the next generation of experts. We have, as you know, enormous expertise in our current working groups, but we cannot lose visibility of the need to maintain fresh blood and junior expert participation in all our working groups. And then finally, another thing that is new that we want to do is to have a meeting of all the chairpersons with the DG during the week in which all the working groups are meeting. And we want to do this to maximize the synergies and the collaboration between all the working groups. So if you want to see all the details about all our working groups, I encourage you to go to our website. I have here the URL. We have a page dedicated to all our working groups. You will be able to learn every single detail about all the working groups, and you will be able to have the contact information of the staff director that is actually coordinating the work for that particular working group. So now let me just move forward, and we are going to introduce to you the new working groups that we have created as part of this realignment. So let's start with the supply chain and long-term operation working group. Nathan, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Sima. So good morning, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nathan Patterson, and I am the staff director for what is now the supply chain and long-term operation working group. So as Sama mentioned, one of the key changes here is the merger of bringing in the concept of the long-term operation parts and having really a sustainable and capable supply chain ready and willing for the needs that are required for a lot of the refurbishment projects that are going ahead, at the same time as the collaboration and the need for the supply chain for the existing fleet, normal operations and new build. It's a dual challenge that we have with a greater amount of new build coming forward, and also with a greater amount of long-term operation refurbishments. So essentially, this working group is trying to tackle some of the fundamental questions so that the supply chain is willing, ready, and enabled to do such a thing. So kind of looking at what is the real demand for certain types of supply chain delivery aspects, be it equipment or services, and do we have the right capability and the capacity to deliver upon such a demand? Are we exploiting the right opportunities? Do we have the right collaborations in place? Do we have the right partnerships in place to be doing what is needed to deliver? Now, as you will see within the mission statement, there is many facets to that, but it is really trying to create that productive business environment where the suppliers can industrialize new technologies, be it SMR technologies or microreactors, but be able to bring forward new innovative delivery models for the nuclear industry, but making sure that the whole supply chain ecosystem and structure is going to really be in place to do such a thing. Looking at some of the kind of global aspects in collaboration with that localization question. So that balance of local supply chain and global worldwide supply chain to deliver certain types of projects, be it new build construction or refurbishments. These are some of the key questions that are being looked at. And inside that, once you start picking it apart, there is a lot of opportunities for doing things differently within the industry. But in some cases, we need to collaborate with many stakeholders to make sure that the industry voice is recognized within different initiatives, be it within the International Atomic Energy Agency, or be it with interfacing with certain types of regulator body working groups. For those who don't know, the working group mentioned at the bottom there, the CNRA working group on supply chain, essentially is a lot of the world's nuclear regulators, specifically that are focusing on the topic of vendor oversight, supply chain oversight. So that's one of the key areas that we will be interfacing with, because we want to make sure that there's going to be a suitable path and understanding to really capitalize on some of the opportunities that we have ahead, be it on greater use of industrial off-the-shelf items, or how we can be looking at a more kind of pragmatic and functional way to deliver quality throughout the supply chain and a graded approach, or be it in delivering on new industrial innovation aspects. So bringing in some of those new technologies and those new innovative ways, be it digitization, advanced manufacturing, really making sure we're capitalizing on bringing things forward at the pace that needs to take place to be the best impact. And the last point you can really see on the slide there fits into a lot of the conversations we're having on the long-term operations side, which is making sure that any obsolescence issues within the supply chain, be it through aspects of the suppliers themselves no longer having products on the market, or be it within the kind of policy and energy market situation, which is driving particular products to be more difficult to be procured for the nuclear industry. That's going to be a key area, so we can capitalize on making sure that the supply chain is able to deliver the needs to meet the refurbishment project, and also to really understand how can we be broadening the supply chain and bringing in new suppliers, be it SMEs, medium companies, or even others. So these are the type of questions that we're trying to tackle. And I'll stop there to allow my other colleagues to have enough time on their topics, but we'll go to the next slide. And here you have a new panel. So the real emphasis of this panel is looking at where are the cutting edge trends that are going on within other sectors, where are visionaries taking forward like new aspects and really kind of breaking the kind of dynamic, being a bit disruptive, if you will, within their sectors, and where can the nuclear industry learn lessons from that? So to try and kind of put that into perspective, it might be looking at, you know, what is going on, let's say in the developing market for space technologies, maybe pharmaceutical aspects. Maybe it could be still within the energy sector, but looking at how others are doing certain things, but really trying to look at what is going on outside of nuclear, and how we could be learning lessons from that, benchmarking from that, whilst at the same time trying to understand where could be the collaborations and the synergies if we are working towards the same goal, maybe between different sectors, but still trying to work towards that same goal. And I'm touching a little bit upon things like the sector coupling aspect. So maybe how maybe certain heavy industries are trying to decarbonize and maybe bring in new types of digitization technologies to help enable them to do that. And we could be learning lessons from that, but at the same time, creating more bridges and more opportunities to explore how we can be really taking things forward together. So this panel will have a key output per year, which will be at least one event showcasing some of these innovative practices from outside the nuclear, but also trying to understand how we can bridge that gap with the types of recommendations or solutions to bring in some of these new innovations into nuclear faster and more accelerated. And in some cases, that might mean engagement with maybe people within the ministries that are involved in some types of industrial strategy and cross-sector collaboration, or it could be the financing community, or it could be those sectors themselves. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nathan. So let me move forward to the ESG working group. David Hess, please.
Thank you, Sama. Thank you, Nathan. Thank you, everybody. It's my pleasure to present a working group which I think has had fairly strong member interest in recent years. It's great to see that it's finally being launched. Just a quick introduction to myself. My name is David Hess. I've been working at the World Nuclear Association for about 12 years now. And for the past 2 or 3, I've really been sort of deeply engaged in some of our response on international sustainable finance issues, including the EU taxonomy, sustainability reporting, and a few other areas. So I just wanted to start by briefly sort of outlining the opportunity of ESG, or environmental, social, and governance finance, which I think we're sort of mostly well aware of. The need to address climate change at COP26 in Glasgow, the announcement that over assets under management worth over 100 trillion were available to be dedicated towards climate action and helping the world to reach net zero. Clearly, there is a very strong ESG case for nuclear energy, and there is a chance to dramatically improve the industry's prospects as a result. But on the other hand, it's also equally clear, and once again, I'd sort of highlight the EU taxonomy here, that there are some genuine risks with the ESG movement as well. And I think the truth is that the nuclear industry can't really expect to benefit from the ESG movement unless we take steps to engage with it. This means more effectively coordinating our outreach to the finance community, showing willingness to improve industry's own sustainability performance on key metrics. We need to sort of proactively try to interact with some of the major international sustainable finance initiatives which are underway today. And we may need to align our cultures so that we really more willingly embrace sustainable development goals and other sustainability cultural attributes. So in terms of what this group will be dealing with, it's pretty clearly put on there on the screen. But this forum will look at ways to share and promote good practice in sustainability. It will help to sort of coordinate our outreach to some of these international initiatives which we've just mentioned, and specifically in terms of the ones which are listed on the screen. Whilst the EU taxonomy is mostly behind us, and we had a good result there, there are other national and regional taxonomies which are under development, some of which are considering whether to include nuclear, some of which are, thankfully, and others which have not yet made that decision. So the World Nuclear Association remains interested in finding ways to try and influence these taxonomies. Similarly with the green bond frameworks, which are under discussion, many of which still currently emit nuclear. Can we find ways to interact with these frameworks and change that? We're also working very closely at the moment with the International Sustainability Standards Board as they go through their consultation processes, and heading towards setting up the first sort of global harmonized standard on sustainability and climate reporting. And we're making sure that this reflects nuclear fairly, and that our nuclear member companies are well aware of developments there. And then, of course, the World Nuclear Association already has several existing sustainability good practice documents, which this ESG working group will look at taking over and updating in the future. So, yeah, we already have some good established work products in this area. Sorry, I've just lost my train of thought here. We really do encourage you to take part in this new ESG working group, but especially we encourage your sustainability member experts to take part as well, because some of this content will be very technical, working within some of these existing frameworks. And on that note, I'll finish and look forward to seeing as many of you in person for the first meeting, which should take place in September.
Thank you very much, David. So let me move forward to our workforce talent development working group. Isis, please.
Thanks so much, Sama. Good morning or good afternoon, everybody. My name is Isis Leslie, and I am the director of the World Nuclear University here at the World Nuclear Association. So it's my very great pleasure to introduce one of our new working groups, the Working Group on Workforce and Talent Development. This is a new area for the World Nuclear Association as a working group, though of course we have been operating the World Nuclear University for 20 years this year. And as we all know, any industry is only as good as its people. And in order to operate safely and securely for the long term, we need to make sure that we have the right people in the right positions. The current hopes and assumptions for the expansion of nuclear, combined with the possible attritional retirement of up to 25% of the workforce over the next 5 years, means that we believe this is the perfect time for the industry to come together to seek solutions to ensure we are able to attract, retain, and develop the talent that we need to meet our goals. The aim for this group is that we will provide a forum for this collaboration and international sharing of best practice. And we aim to develop strategies within the group to support the industry colleagues wherever they are finding these challenges. Since this is a new group, we will work in collaboration with our industry members to define the exact focus areas and develop a work plan. And we're really excited to develop this group and welcome members who are interested in this area. We are hoping to attract experts in talent development, leadership, human HR, performance, culture experts, but also any of you leaders out there who are involved in ensuring that your organizations are fully staffed with motivated and qualified people. And the long-term goal for this group is to not only develop these strategies, but also to feed these industry concerns back into the World Nuclear University programming so that we are able to support in plugging any gaps that we've identified together as a group. So if you have any questions about this group, please reach out to me if you want any further information. We are hoping to have an initial online meeting with a few interested parties in advance of our first meeting in September, so that we are able to start our first meeting in September running with a broad plan for approval of the group. Thanks, Sama.
Thank you very much, Isis. So let's go to the next set of working groups. Let's start with economics, law, and finance. King Lee will give us an overview of this working group and others that we still don't have the staff director that will actually lead them at time. King, please.
Thank you, Sama. As Sama indicated, we are merging the association existing economics and law working group to leverage their combined expertise in this area. And we're also expanding the working group to have increasing focus in the important area of financing and investment of nuclear energy. Therefore, this new working group will cover a very important range of topics relating to economics, laws, and financing of particularly nuclear facility, notably new nuclear power plants for both developed and developing countries. So the group will continue to explore economics, the capital cost, competitiveness of nuclear energy in their overall energy mix. So this will include considering the social economic benefit and the full life cycle analysis, comparing the low carbon electricity generation. So the group will study as well as the energy and electricity market, considering the amount of electricity market reform that's going to undertake, and to recognize and support nuclear energy in its benefit and cost effectiveness as the overall electricity system. So the group will continue to raise awareness of the legal issues and development affecting the global nuclear energy, and provide a forum to our members, legal representatives, to discuss the development of nuclear liability and insurance. So the group in particular will also seek to engage and influence the financial community to increase awareness of the value proposition of investing in nuclear energy. This includes engaging with international financial institutions like the International Monetary Fund, World Banks, and other multilateral development banks. So the group has already developed a very strong relationship with the IAEA, OECD, NEA, as well as other relevant stakeholders. And the group have supported the Association Harmony program of projects with the UNECE and the ASEAN member states. This work will now expand into the association other partnership with, such as the African Union. So, as an example, the group will continues our work with the IMF to explore the social economic benefit of nuclear energy, to follow on their work on the IMF paper, Building Back Better. This work is really important to show the significant large economic multiplier effect of nuclear energy. Another area of the work we'll take on is our work with the ASEAN Center for Energy in preparing a report of the economic and financing of nuclear energy lessons for the ASEAN member states. This is really discussed economic and financing with emerging countries. It is intended that the group will also manage the association existing work on energy modeling. This has been initiated by the Harmony team. This will include our collaboration with UNEC on their carbon neutrality project to explore the full potential of nuclear energy. We are now starting to establish contact with the Glasgow Financial Alliance for Net Zero, GFANZ, which is the global coalition for leading financial institutions to committed to accelerate and decarbonize of the economy. Part of the group work will be lead the association engagement with GFANZ on the development of their net zero transition plan, which is their tools and methodology which aim to turn financial institution net zero commitment into action. I think this is a really important area that is the association to engage with financial institutions, how to incorporate nuclear into company decarbonization transition plan. So the group will work closely with the association new ESG working group in this area with our engagement with the ISSB on their climate and sustainability reporting standard, part of which requirement is for organizations to set climate target and prepare transition plan. We are currently recruiting staff directors to support this new working group. So please see the association website for detail and welcome your support to advertise this post. So moving on to the next market. The association establishing a new emerging market panel that will form a forum for representing of emerging nuclear countries to share experience of developing nuclear and to gain knowledge from more mature nuclear countries and the wider industry. We consider the emerging market panel is really important as emerging economies and developed countries are the driving force for increasing global energy demand. How these countries develop their energy infrastructure will be key to a sustainable and just energy transition. These emerging economy and developing countries are also driving global population growth, with many young workers looking for jobs. The population of these countries are moving to city, with increasing urbanization of these countries will lead to greater demand for energy. Therefore, affordable 24/7 energy will be crucial to the people and economic development of these countries. The panel will explore how to facilitate the deployment of enormous potential of nuclear energy to provide abundant 24/7 clean energy. So the panel, as indicated, aims to bring together emerging nuclear economy and mature nuclear countries. So the industry will bring the full potential of nuclear technology beyond nuclear generation, and the association existing members, which include newcomer countries who are building and started to operate new nuclear power plant for the first time, will share their experience and with new member states planning and developing new nuclear power program. So we welcome your suggestion and support for this new panel. Thank you.
Thank you very much, King. So let me move forward to the next panel, which is the energy users panel, which Aaron will present. And at the same time, I want to remind you that you can ask questions. So I've seen several questions already in the Q&A part of the Zoom application. So please don't be shy. And some of those questions we are already answering them. We are writing the answer in there, and some others we will have the answer in afterwards. So now Aaron will tell us a little bit about the End Energy Users Panel. Aaron, please go ahead.
Thanks, Sama. Hello, everyone. I'm Aaron, who is the program lead of the back-end activities of the nuclear fuel site field in the association. It's my pleasure to speak about our new working group, which is End Energy Users Panel. As you know, today there is a significant interest and gathering momentum for the use of nuclear energy, for instance, through the use of industrial heat and deployment of small modular reactors, advanced reactors, as well as microreactors in the field of petrochemical industries, steel production, IT and data centers, mining, transport, and synthetic fuel manufacturing, and so on. So this newly established working group will bring together potential new and energy users and industry members to explore and support the development of nuclear power in these sectors. Therefore, the panel aims to increase the awareness of the wider application of nuclear energy beyond large-scale electricity production. Engaging with non-nuclear industries, we believe that we will reinforce the credibility and the relevance of global nuclear industry. So the possible areas where the panel could focus will include financing and ownership models, operation models, legal and regulatory models, and technology optimization of coupling nuclear electricity and heat for various applications. However, the more we involve different industries and sectors, the more areas to work on we will have in the near future. And stakeholders of this new working group might include the organizations representing these industries, including petrochemical, crypto mining, big tech companies, and shipping companies also. I hope to receive your feedback, so please don't hesitate to contact me for further information. Thanks, Sama.
Thank you very much, Aaron. So last but not least, we have a couple of final working groups to present, and I would like to invite Serge to give us a summary of these last couple of working groups. Serge, please go ahead.
Thank you, Sama, and good hello to everyone. I'm Serge Collin, Head of Industry Cooperation, and I've been quite heavily involved in the whole working group review and revision cycle, along with my colleagues. So first, I'm going to talk about a couple of two remaining new initiatives. The first of which, unfortunately, is more for information. So the Cooperation Forum for Nuclear Technology Associations has been created as of January this year, and its origins are a joint initiative that we had last year around the 50th anniversary of the Non-Proliferation Treaty, and there was a 5-year review conference in the US, and we reached out to other nuclear technology associations, not just in the power sector, but also in medical, in the non-destructive testing areas. And we put together a statement that emphasized the third pillar of the NPT and called for the governments to really honor their commitment to support nuclear technologies in those countries which are observing their non-proliferation commitments. And so this new panel is really built on the foundations of that cooperation. And you can see the different organizations' logos at the bottom. We held a sort of kickoff meeting in January. We're going to be looking, we see potential to work in areas such as radiological protection. There's obviously there is a very important review of the International Commission for Radiological Protection general recommendations ongoing, and our RP working group is very much involved in scrutinizing that, and there could be real value in sharing thoughts or sharing assessments with these other nuclear technology associations. And you can see the other areas we'll be working outlined. The group will be led on the staff side by Same Melem, who is our staff director for RP. Next slide, please. So the Members Forum is actually an evolution of our very popular Fuel Cycle Members Forum, which usually draws over 100 participants, and we hold this forum alongside sets of working group, physical working group meetings. And the evolution is really, we're no longer going to be focused only on fuel cycle. We're going to use this forum really for two purposes. One is to give our members an update on our sort of key activities, and to give you an opportunity to give your feedback on how we're managing those activities and the direction we're taking. The second aspect really is to use the forum for those, and those I would say, developments in nuclear which are of general interest across the working groups. So what we've occasionally had in the past, and I'll give an example of a topic, might be the EU taxonomy. So really, it's of general interest to the association, the outcome of this discussions at the EU on the taxonomy, very major development. And the idea is that we centralize the discussion on topics such as that, such as perhaps the fate of nuclear facilities in Ukraine, which is again of general interest, these sort of big ticket topics. So we'll be holding that in September, and I'm going to be taking responsibility as staff director, and look forward to seeing you this September at the first meeting of the Members Forum. We might come up with a more interesting name than Members Forum, but we'll keep you posted.
Thank you very much, Serge. So that is the summary of all the working groups that we have. So I again I want to point out the URL to which you can go to our website, to our web page, and you can actually read about all the working groups, not just the new ones. And you can also get in touch with the staff directors that are coordinating the work of each and every one of those working groups. So now we actually have the opportunity for questions, and I see that there is quite a few questions already in the chat. So I'm going to invite all the colleagues to turn on the cameras so I can direct some of the questions. So maybe a few very quick answers to some of these questions. So there was a question about the presentation. So just so you know, this webinar is being recorded, and the webinar itself, the recording, as well as the presentation, will be shared in the website. So everybody you will have access to all this information. So of course, that is a very important answer. So I see another question here that I would like to invite perhaps Serge. So he is the most experienced person when it comes to the governance and of the different working groups. So Serge, how will the new chairs for the working groups be selected? And can different individuals that are interested apply?
Well, yes, if you're interested in chairing a working group, then please contact the relevant staff director. The method of approval is that the chairs are selected or approved by the membership of the group. So that is where there is normally a call for nominations for a group, and then nominations are received by the staff director, and then a candidate is presented to the members of the group. And as Sama said, any World Nuclear Association member can join working group, but joining a working group involves some sort of commitment to that group. So it means that you will be attending as often as possible, and that you will contribute to the actions and the activities, reports that group is involved in. But it also gives you responsibility, but also some advantages in that you are able to have sort of editing rights on reports, for example. So, yeah, in principle, any member company can put their name forward as a chair, but it will be the members themselves that select the chair.
Very good. Thank you, Serge. And I think it's important to maybe remind everybody that so you don't have to your organization doesn't need to participate in every working group, but certainly you can. So it depends on the topics in which you have more interest as an organization or more expertise. And again, remember that you don't get this is not a marriage. You don't get to be participating in a working group for life. So it depends. I mean, perhaps the interest of the company change with time. So I would really recommend that if you think that your organization may be able to contribute and to impact or perhaps benefit from the work of a different working group, but you are not completely sure, perhaps just get in touch with the staff director and participate on a meeting or two and see what is the type of work that is happening and see if that is really aligned with what you expect and need from the working group. And of course, your input is always very welcome. So I have another question over here. So this was related to the, well, I think that maybe it was already related to the economics, law and financing working group. I think that the question is whether a key component on innovation in financing nuclear needs to be added in the working group. And well, I would let King discuss this, but maybe I can give you the initial question. Definitely innovation in financing, innovative and more effective models for financing is going to be one of the areas of focus of the economics, law and financing working group. I don't know, King, whether you want to add anything to that.
Yes, thank you for raising the question. Yes, definitely. We will, part of the working group will be exploring the financing model. So, for example, the association work very closely and engage very closely with the new financing model that's being proposed by the UK, the regulatory asset base, as an example. So definitely.
Mm-hmm. And I see another question here where there is a recommendation to consider engaging with the International Bank on Nuclear Infrastructure. The answer is absolutely. I mean, I think that many of you are aware that World Nuclear Association has already endorsed and supports the work that the International Bank on Nuclear Infrastructure is doing. And in fact, we have one of our experts, Philip Cost, that many of you know, who is a senior advisor to the DG. Philip is very, very engaged with the work of IFNI. So certainly IFNI will probably, will be one of the stakeholders in the work that the association is doing in overall finance. So thank you for that question. So there was a question, and I don't see this, I suspect perhaps it's been already answered written, that was regarding the role of the working group on workforce and talent development. And there was a recognition that in addition to a focus on recruitment and retention, there needs to be a focus on engaging and doing a knowledge exchange between the current generation of experts and future generations of experts. So I think that is an area of expertise and an area of work that I think we are definitely considering. So I don't know, Isis, whether you want to elaborate on that.
Thanks, Sama. Yes, thank you so much for the question. I popped something in the chat, but I think I might have pressed a button which suggested that it was completely answered. So apologies for that. It's my technological hangups there. So yes, as Sama was saying, the main 3 areas that we are looking to focus on in the working group are attraction, which includes not just the younger generation, but also experts from other industries who may have transferable skills, which would be applicable to the nuclear industry, because obviously you can't staff entirely new power plants with only young people. Retention, which will include not only the creation of appropriate cultures, the appropriate incentives, but also development programs for people who are already with us, and the development aspect of things. So making sure that those who join us either as young people or as transferring in from new industries are brought up to speed and become solid nuclear professionals. There is a very special skill to being a nuclear professional, which isn't necessarily applicable in a lot of other industries. So it's really important that we get the talent and leadership development side of things right. So yes, you made a very good point. We will make sure that we are not just focusing on attracting young people, but that we are also focusing on how to keep the people that we have happy and motivated, and make sure that our plants are staffed by a workforce who is aware of the safety and security concerns. I hope that answers the question.
Thank you very much, Isis. I believe it does. I see another question where people are wondering whether non-members can be participants in World Nuclear Association working groups. So as I mentioned before, obviously the working groups and our panels are exclusive for our members. So the ones that have decision making and the ones that actually can become the chairpersons, or the ones that actually lead and shape the direction of the work, clearly are the members. But as I also mentioned, in many working groups, we have external observers or stakeholders, for example, as I mentioned, from external organizations that have a key role in the work that the working group is doing. And from time to time, we may invite external organizations to provide information, or to provide us with updates from non-member organizations. But in principle, the idea is that this is one of the benefits of becoming a member of World Nuclear Association, to be able to be a full participant of all the working groups. And I see here a note from one of my colleagues. I want to remind you that joining a working group is not just coming to the meetings that we have in the context of World Nuclear Association. As you have seen in the slides and in the information that we have provided, many of these working groups have an observer status in external organizations, for example, with the International Atomic Energy Agency, or the OECD Nuclear Energy Agency, or the ICRP, etc. So if you were to be an active participant in a working group, and in particular, if you were to become the chairperson of a working group, it would certainly give you the opportunity to represent the global nuclear industry in those fora, in the context of the IAEA or something else. I mean, perhaps World Bank or United Nations Framework Convention from Climate Change, etc., etc. So as I say, these working groups are not just internal to work on nuclear issues among us nuclear experts, but also to bring the position of the nuclear industry in all fora where energy policy and nuclear energy are discussed. So I'm looking. One more question. I think this is also for Isis, and this is related to the issue of gender equality and gender equity, which is obviously very important in all aspects of nuclear. But I think that you're right. The working group on workforce and talent development will probably take a look at that. Isis, I don't know if you want to elaborate.
Yes, no, I mean, as Sama says, we are definitely hoping that we will be able to include an element on gender in all of the 3 phases that we've outlined as being important: the attraction, retention, and development. The gender key is going to be crucial. Obviously, we need to attract an equitable workforce, but I think it's not just gender. I think it's inclusivity and diversity as a whole that we want to look at. So our aim will be to focus on the broader aspects to make sure that we are appealing as an industry to a broad context of people, and that when they do join us, we are able to keep them and keep them happy. And sometimes that will be things that are specific to gender, but there may also be other considerations for different aspects of diversity, which we will need to look at. So yes, but thank you for the suggestion.
Very good. So we are getting to the end of the webinar. I mean, it's already we are at the top of the hour, and actually this is actually perfect because I do not see any additional questions. So this is good. So I just want to maybe close this webinar by thanking all of you for participating. First of all, thank you all to my colleagues for sharing the vision and the work that is going to take place in the new working groups. So as I said before, I encourage all of you to visit our website and become familiar with the work that is happening in all the working groups, not just the new ones. And please don't be shy. And if you think that the work that is taking place in these working groups is valuable to your organization, and you think that your organization may be able to contribute and impact this work, please don't hesitate to find the right expert or experts within your organization and encourage them to become members of the appropriate working group. So please take a look at the website and don't hesitate to contact the different staff directors. They will be able to answer any questions that you may have that perhaps didn't come to you while we were having this webinar, but clearly we are always available to answer any of your questions. So please don't hesitate to reach out to any and all of the staff directors to ask any questions, and in particular, if you want to be engaged and participate in a given working group. So with this, I just want to again thank everybody for your participation. And now I think we have a final slide that is going to be shared momentarily. Yes, that tells you about upcoming events related to working groups. So as you see here, the next working group meetings will take place in London on 4 to 6 of September. And of course, these working groups, they tend to coincide with our World Nuclear Symposium 2023, which is obviously our big flagship event in which we connect and bring together the global nuclear industry. So I think if you want to be engaged in the working groups and then stay for the week to learn about the most important topics that are relevant to the global nuclear industry, you can stay for the Nuclear Symposium. And let me just say one more thing that we didn't put in this slide, but is very important. As Isis mentioned, 2023 marks the 20th anniversary of World Nuclear University. And of course, during the World Nuclear Symposium and Working Groups Week, we will be having a special celebration to mark this quite important occasion. So perhaps some of you that will be around for working groups and symposium may be able to join us for that important celebration. So with this, I just say goodbye to everybody. So have a very nice day, whether it's your morning, your afternoon, or your evening. Thank you very much. Stay well, and please stay in touch. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.